Hello and welcome everybody to Flicker Effect, episode 328. We are recording this and streaming live on Monday, April 20th, 2020. I'm David Lotz. Joining me for this is Bobby Jackson.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
And Jascha Wilson.
Hey, everybody.
Hey guys. How's it going? Another week.
Oh, fucking great.
You know, I mean, it's going good, but it seems like every week that this is going on, one big news story of the week happens. And from last week, I saw that once again, Florida is in the news. It seems as though they decided that amongst their highest count, they said, you know what? We're good. Let's have some fun here. Let's make this pandemic a party and open up those beaches.
Just all I will say politically on this show is our governor does not speak for all of us, even if he is our governor. But
I'd like to point out that I wasn't the one to bring it up. That was all Bobby Jackson right now.
This is true.
Since we are on the topic of the great state of Florida, let's dive in, shall we? I mean,
so it's funny.
Really talk about what.
So yesterday, man, I'm so thrown off that we're doing the show Monday. So yeah, yesterday decided to go out on a little car ride to get out of the house, and got the kids in the car, went for a drive, and I had just been talking about how, as a native Floridian, first of all, I do recognize that yes, we have issues here. But also as a native Floridian, sometimes it gets a little old, like just the constant badgering our state gets online. I had seen this tweet from Bette Midler, who I love, and I'm just like, oh man, like the whole hashtag Florida morons thing has started trending. And I was also just trying to make this argument. I'm like, I don't know that it's that bad here. And then we go on this drive on Sunday. And we end up driving by New Smyrna Beach. And first of all, I should say the whole drive, we weren't really intending on getting out anywhere. We were just getting out of the house, get in the car, go for a drive. Mm-hmm. We brought masks and stuff with us just in case, but we didn't really plan on getting out of the car. We end up in New Smyrna Beach, and I hadn't been there in a long time. And we're driving down the kind of main strip where all the beach shops and restaurants are. And then I was like, God damn it, this is why people hate us. Like, look at everybody. There were people everywhere. Like, I mean, it wasn't like packed like spring break or, the peak of summer kind of beach packed. It wasn't like that. But there were a lot of people around. And I have to say, I didn't see a mask in sight. Like, nobody was wearing a mask. It blew me away. It kind of killed me a little.
Wow.
So, yeah, that was a thing on Sunday. Yes, we are Florida. What I've got nothing.
Hear us roar. You didn't finish the sentence. We are Florida. Hear us roar. And our insanity. I mean, first off, it was mind-blowing that you guys were still having parties when it came spring break and the beaches were open. And basically,
well, I still make the argument most of the people doing that were not from here, but
you still think that's
fair
the
enough?
Case,
but
I still think that's the case for a little. That was peak of spring break when that happened. The beaches should have been closed. I totally agree with you.
They should be closed
this weekend.
Who closes the beach? It's not the tourists. The tourists can't close the beach. It's all Florida.
Oh, no. I totally agree. But to answer your question, Bobby, no, what I saw yesterday, I think was mostly just native or just,
Okay, yeah, that's
residents.
what I
Yes.
was
No, I mean, spring break's over. No
referring
one's
to.
traveling really right now.
No.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah, and that's what's crazy is just like, this should have been shut down a long time ago. At what point does the government decide to, and not to rein in everything and really talk or change this entertainment to political commentary, but at what point does the government really just get involved and just really give a state-mandated order to everybody, if you can, like, hey, look, in order to get this thing under control, we should probably shut down everything. We should really take this seriously. And there are a lot of people out there that just aren't taking it seriously. And that's frustrating to me. Now, I don't know all the ins and outs. I'm not going to pretend that I do, but it is frustrating to see some people abiding by the rules and a lot of people not. And that goes across the board, not just Florida, but in California or any other state that's having just crazy breakouts.
yeah.
yeah.
I was going to say, I point out too, I was just kind of going through YouTube the other day, and YouTube has a section a lot of times where it's just recommending stuff, even from people you don't follow. And I came across a video from, and I remember his name. I think it was like Mika Muzio. And he's a helicopter pilot, and he's had a few videos, and he was shooting video over LA, just left Long Beach Airport and, going over Long Beach, up the coast, past LAX, then over Hollywood to downtown LA. It was fascinating to watch. The one I was watching, he just shot just a few days ago. It was like April 12th or something like that, or I forget. And yeah, I mean, as someone, you guys live there, I lived there for a small period of time. We know what it's like there to see air footage of what it's like in LA, just the freeways. And he was shooting this at 6 o'clock on a Friday, just to see the 405 and how dead it was at 6 o'clock on a Friday, and just how there's no one on the beaches, there's no one anywhere. It was weird, but it was a good video. I'd recommend it.
Well, I feel like I would love to see that, but it's like I feel like that's testament as to how sane California is compared to how crazy Florida is. So that's
I
one. The
that's
other
one thing
one,
that
though,
crossed my mind. I was watching it. I'm like, this is what we should be doing
this
here.
is normal. This is a new normal. But I mean, in
Right.
all honesty, like I mean, it's been crazy. Like I mean, when this first started happening, and we were doing the whole lockout and everything like that, I went for a drive in the afternoon, and it was maybe 6:15, 6:30 on the 405, and I was going 70, 75 easily, and people were passing me like I was standing still, and it wasn't a problem. Like, it wasn't even that reckless. Like, I mean, getting past the fact that they're probably going 85, 90 or whatnot, that's pretty dangerous when you get up to those speeds and you're going that fast, but you're not. That's dangerous when you're weaving in and out of traffic, but it was literally you could just go that fast and you wouldn't be in anybody's way. Like you're just driving at that point. Like that's how open the 5 and the 405 freeways are. Like it's almost a shame. Like I mean, I want to drive somewhere. I have nowhere to go because nothing's open, but I want to drive
Right.
somewhere because now it would take literally no time. Like my drive to work is typically about 45 minutes without traffic.
Hmm.
The last day that I worked, and this was just leading into the shutdown, I left my house at 6:30 in the morning, got to work at 7:15, and I stopped for breakfast. And that's how long it took me. I mean, I made it up there in about 35 minutes, and that's my typically my commute. It's crazy how empty the freeways are.
Yeah, I mean, because the job I have still been out and about driving around Orlando area, Central Florida. Just I have to for work. And when this all got started, yeah, the roads were, I mean, definitely just dead. But it's been interesting, especially in the past week or so. Every day I've been out, I feel like I'm seeing more and more traffic. Just, I think, I don't know, and it, in defense of some people, it could be a lot of people just getting out and driving like I did on Sunday. But yeah, I'm definitely seeing a lot more traffic around here. Anyway, well, while we're talking about coronavirus and its effect on our lives, we got big news this week. We found out from San Diego Comic-Con that they have decided to cancel this year's convention. It was supposed to take place in what, July, I think 23rd through like 27th or something like that. Um,
Yeah.
I don't think this comes as a major shock, but I don't know about you guys. I didn't quite expect it this soon. This seemed pretty quick to announce it. I also, not being in California, I don't have quite the sense of how things are out there. But maybe it didn't come as quite a shock to you guys as it did me. But I guess I didn't expect it this fast. Yeah, on Friday they announced that yeah, for the first time in its 50-year history, they have canceled the convention this year. It will be back next year. They went on to say that if you have a badge for this year, you will be able to roll it over and use it for next year's convention, or you can get a refund. Your choice, I guess. But yeah, no San Diego Comic Con this year, guys. I wasn't going to be able to attend this year, but you guys were. How does it feel to find out that there is for certain no Comic Con, Bobby?
Like you said, we kind of already expected that this was going to happen. So I think when the news broke, I was like, yeah, there it is. And so I didn't have a strong reaction to it, especially because it's in July and here it is April. So it was just a matter of, okay, here's the news. This is what it is. I don't think it will actually hit me until it's that weekend when I know that I should be down there and all these different things should be going on. Same way with a lot of the movies that are supposed to have come out. Like we were supposed to have Black Widow come out next month. When that got announced to be canceled, or not canceled, but moved off its date and going into November, I was like, man, that sucks. That's far away. But at the same time, I kind of wasn't thinking too hard about it. But once next month comes, I'm gonna be thinking this the weekend I should have been going to go see Black Widow. And as some of these summer movies are missing their dates now, once those dates come around, that's when I'm really gonna feel it because we're not gonna have anything. It's not like something else is going to jump into that spot and we'll still have some major release movies coming out. It's everything vacated their spots. So what are we seeing if there is an availability for us to go out and do things? It's like we don't have that anymore. So that's just something that's going to leave a vacuum once that time comes around. So that's how I feel really about with Comic Con. It's right now I'm at the point where, okay, here's the news. I know that this is the way it is, and I've more or less accepted it. But when it comes to that weekend, I know it's going to hit harder, knowing that I had passed to go, and I'm not going. I can't be there. In fact, because it's something that Yasha mentioned a little bit earlier, where he said that he wants to drive and go do some things, but nowhere to go really. This past weekend, I drove down to San Diego just because I was thinking about the whole Comic Con thing, and I went down to the gas lamp and parked, walked around, and there's people walking around downtown. And then I went across to where the convention center is, and there's a decent amount of people out and about that are walking their dogs or jogging, exercising, just walking in general. But I noticed there was probably, I would say, a good 75 to 80% of the people were covered their face. They had a mask of some sort on, and the other percent, was just walking freely but still doing social distancing. And so it was kind of nice just getting out and being able to be down there by the Embarcadero area, seeing the ships in the water, and it was a nice day out. And so it was like, man, Comic Con isn't coming around, but this right here is kind of nice just being out and being around people. And it's not Comic Con level, but it was nice just to be around people. And there was nothing open per se, but it was still just, I think, people kind of being out and just kind of enjoying the day, but still obeying the rules and not really doing anything that I saw that was out of sorts. So it was kind of cool.
So, Yasha, what was your reaction to the big news?
Similar to Bobby's. I mean, we've talked about this in great detail and great length before. I guess I was overly optimistic and hopeful that this was actually going to happen and this was going to really take place, and thinking that, okay, it's just months off, it's still months off. But it was shocking, but at the same time not surprising, if that makes sense. Like, surprising but not surprising. It's weird to kind of describe it that way. I get why they canceled it. There's probably a ton of vendors, a ton of companies, a ton of celebrities that would make the appearance for this type of thing, but they're now concerned for their health. And that's, if they started to get cancellation upon cancellation upon cancellation, then they're just like, you know what, this is not going to work. This isn't going to be conducive to what we want to deliver to our fans. This isn't going to be conducive to what the experience that we want to try and have for people. So let's just go ahead and do what people are kind of expecting us to do anyways, which is cancel it. It was crushing. I mean, I think it was a day before or a week before, they were still releasing articles and still releasing statements saying that they were planning on having this event, that this was still going to go on. And here we are now. I mean, just last Friday, they broke the news that this is canceled officially. This is no longer a thing. First time in 50 years. And it definitely was heartbreaking. It's definitely crushing. This is our thing. This is what we wait for all year. Bobby and I talked about this a lot last summer, walking around, and it's kind of the one time. I mean, you may take little breaks here and there throughout the year, 3 or 4 day weekends and whatnot, but this is the one weekend where literally we just kind of cut loose. And it's up early, staying up late. It's walking around. It's eating copious amounts of food that are good and bad for you, and having maybe one or two more drinks than you probably should to get up and do it all over the next day. And I love every single minute of it and every single minute of the crowds, the experience, the city. And I was bummed. I was definitely shook and definitely kind of really bummed with the news of that, especially on top of that, hearing more and more news from, movies closing and or moving and being postponed. I listened to a podcast earlier today that said that AMC could essentially stay closed until Thanksgiving, and they can manage that and they will be okay. But they've furloughed everybody, including their CEO, if I'm not mistaken. I could be. I'm not 100%, but hearing that, it's like people are really settling in for the long haul when it comes to this sort of thing, which kind of revisits to what we were just talking about when it comes to people taking this seriously and not thinking that this is a vacation, not thinking that this is just some break that they can have and then partying and doing stuff. And it bums me out, because the longer that people delay on taking it seriously, the more chance that they are at risk, and the more chance that we'll still be in this position, and the more chance that we'll get more and more further delays. I like the idea of going down there and just visiting the city. I wish I was able to do that, and I wish I might even do that this weekend, just to kind of go walk around and see it. I have a friend that lives in downtown, and she constantly posts videos of the city and its complete barrenness when it comes to people walking around, or what you're used to seeing, and it's just not there anymore. There are a lot of people not there and not doing anything. I finally had a moment of realization, I guess you can say, when I went out to the grocery store just this past weekend, and I had my mask on, and I'm looking around, and legitimately 90% of the people that were around me had their masks on. And it was a while, I guess, it had been since I had been around so many people or out. And it was kind of unsettling. It wasn't the greatest experience to see that. It's kind of disheartening, and it's just like, man, it's really frustrating to see that. But this is the norm for a while until we get this kind of nipped in the bud and taken care of. And it's, that's a long-winded answer to what you're asking. But yeah, I was definitely crushed. I was definitely bummed.
Yeah, for me, like I said, I wasn't planning on attending. I wasn't able to attend this year, and as I also mentioned, I guess I didn't expect it this soon. Uh, you know, it doesn't affect me in 2020. Of course, I since I wasn't able to go this year, I really, really wanted to go next year. It's been a while since I've seen you guys. I like to go to Comic Con. I feel like it almost recharges me for the year, and it's an amazing experience. And I was hoping to go in 2021, but now with the fact that it's canceled this year, and that I have to imagine that most people who have 2020 badges will use them in 2021. Maybe there's a chance I could get a badge for next year, but I would guess it's probably pretty slim to none. So now I guess I'm looking forward to 2022 and thinking, maybe next year, maybe I'll do WonderCon again just to come out there. But that also bums me out that I'm looking at even another year before I'll make it to San Diego Comic Con. But it is what it is. We all understand why they're making the decision, why they made the decision they made. It makes sense. It just it was kind of a shock this soon, especially considering it. I mentioned I think we were just talking about conventions last week. MegaCon here in Orlando was supposed to happen last weekend, and that'll be happening now in June, which is even sooner than what San Diego is going to be. So, and they've been announcing all of their guests that have reconfirmed for the new dates, and they still seem to be going ahead so far. I mentioned this last week. I kind of found it odd that they picked dates that were so soon, but I also understand that scheduling is probably for something like that is probably insanely difficult. So that's what they picked. But I guess we'll see if that happens. And now, of course, too, with San Diego canceling, it makes me even more and more nervous for Labor Day weekend and Dragon Con. I've this whole time I've been thinking, oh man, Labor Day weekend, Dragon Con weekend is far enough away. We should be fine by then. But I mean, as the days go by, I think we all start to feel a little less certain about everything, and I'm starting to worry about that. But hey, if that has to get canceled, it is what it is as well. I'm not, I'll be there next year. But yeah, it's all kind of insane, especially considering that San Diego's never canceled before in its 50-year history. But it will be happening this year for sure.
I could see a scenario where Dragon Con, you'll still be able to go to that, but not MegaCon.
You think so?
Because
Yeah.
MegaCon is in Florida, right?
Yeah, MegaCon's here in Orlando.
See, and with the way the state is treating the whole thing, I mean, I see more cases going up before it goes down, before they have a control of it,
Right.
especially by June. I just don't see that one happening. But by Labor Day, I mean, I guess the thing would be to keep track of what's going on in Atlanta and see how they're doing in handling things. And maybe that
Mm-hmm.
they are doing a better job of it to where they can get it under control and they can still have something like that. But it's just a matter of what I'm curious about is how many people will want to go, even if they can go? How many people will still be um, tepid in terms of wanting to risk things? Because let's say you have, I don't know, let's say you have 100,000 people that would attend, and that's probably being under what it would be, but let's just say, and then everyone's saying, okay, you can go, there's no problem going, and depending on how long it's been that we've gotten the go sign of those 100,000, let's just say, I don't know, 70,000 are up for it, and 30,000 say, no, we're just gonna stay home this year. It's still a little too close. We don't trust it. So of those 70,000 that go, then it's kind of like, okay, does that mean that some of the people that would have gone, will they still have the same experience in a way, or will it be a better experience because maybe there'll be less people and maybe more room to move around? It's just kind of like it's a weird area that we're in to try and see how well some of these events that will continue to go on will be able to essentially pull off what their event is. If they have it, will they? And Dragon Con's a little bit different, but at the same time, it's almost worse in a way because at least if you like, let's say if you're going to something like a Comic Con and you're going to panels, then maybe they just cut the room in half and say, okay, Instead of this being a 500 seat room, now it's going to be a 250 seat room, so we can spread people out. But uh, and correct me if I'm wrong, David, but for the most part, Dragon Con is about being in these big hotel places and congregating together as opposed to going to panels and sitting down. So there's more people grouped closer together than there is people that are kind of meandering about and spread out, right?
Yes and no. There are a lot of panels at Dragon Con. Um, it's just it's different, and not to get into a whole kind of description of how Dragon Con works, which could take a while. But you're right, though. Yes, it's also a big part of Dragon Con is just everyone kind of congregating at these host hotels, especially later in the day, but throughout the day as well. But especially later in the day, once a lot of the themed parties starts, you just have a lot of cosplayers and just attendees walking around in the hotels, hanging out, partying. Yeah, it's just kind of big crowds, especially at the Marriott, just congregating and hanging out, especially late into the night. But there are also a lot of panels, and I could see if Dragon Con happens. And I agree. I think Dragon Con is everything is in its favor to still happen, but I would imagine it's going to be a different experience. Not only is there a possibility that they'll do like you're saying, and make the panel rooms, have everyone sitting in the panel rooms a little more spread out, make more space. Unfortunately, less attendees will be able to attend, but also just how everyone will be acting. Will just a lot of people still be wearing masks around that time? Knowing Dragon Con, if that's the case, a lot of people will just use that, as a way to inspire their costumes
Right.
and, do cosplay that involves a lot of helmets and masks and such. But I can imagine we'll see a different Dragon Con. But as of right now, I would guess it would still happen. And then, yeah, with MegaCon, I don't know. I mean, if I had to bet, I would say it would get canceled. If it happens, I agree that I think a lot of people come June will still choose to just not go. And I would, I mean, again, it depends on how things are and by mid June, but I usually go to MegaCon to take my kids, and I most likely would not attend, even if it does take place. But we'll see. Who knows how life will be in a month and a half.
Right.
I don't imagine it'll be that much better to make me comfortable to take my kids with me, or even just me go by myself to MegaCon. But we'll see. Yeah, so that's the latest news from the conventions. And what else has been going on, guys? I'll say real quick. I didn't see much this week, but I did see my weekly episode of Breaking Bad. I have now watched 2 episodes of Breaking Bad. I'm gonna keep
My
watching.
man.
I'm gonna keep watching. Like I said, I will at least watch an episode a week. I imagine as I get through some stuff, I'll probably start watching more and more of it. But it's good so far, but it's just 2 episodes. We'll see. I finished The Crown this week. I mean, that show dropped, I think, back in November, the third season. So I'm kind of behind, but I finally got around to finishing that season this week, and I still love that show. For anyone
It's
who
got one
is,
more season, right?
at least I think, yeah. I think they
I've
had
always
already
wanted to
started
get into
production.
the
I don't know if they had finished production on season 4 or not yet. What was that, Yasha? Sorry.
Oh no, I've always wanted to get into that show. I just never had the time. I really didn't. I've always wanted to kind of get into that show. I just never did, and it's still something that I'm interested in doing. I just haven't been able to do it.
It's excellent. I highly recommend it.
For
And
sure, for
being a
sure.
Netflix show, yeah, they're 10 episode seasons. Not that every Netflix show, I guess, is like that, but this one is 10 episode seasons, about hour long episodes. They're really good third season. Third season recasts, basically all the characters. Olivia Colman now playing the Queen. But yeah, really good. So. What about you guys? You guys watch anything this week, Bobby?
Yeah, so last week we were talking about Quibi, and I didn't really get a chance to talk too much about it, but there was a couple shows on there that I watched that I really dug a lot. There was one called Survive that has Sophie Turner and Corey Hawkins in it, and I finished that. The last episode was, I think, I want to say it was last Friday or Thursday, maybe last Thursday, and let's see, maybe 8 episodes of it. So the whole premise was that they go down in this plane crash and they kind of have to get back to civilization. And I really enjoyed it a lot. The format of it didn't bother me. In fact, I think the way at least this one was cut, it made me want to tune in every day once the episode dropped and watch it right away. And there's this other show that was on there that I watch called When the Streetlights Go On, and it has the kid that was in it, the young African American kid. He's kind of the one of the main characters in it, and it's about this small town that has a murder of a young girl, and come to find out she was having sort of an affair with the teacher of the town as well, of one of the classes, and it's kind of us trying to figure out who was the person that committed the crime. And that one was good as well. That had me tuned in every day, and it was the same length. I think it was about 8 episodes, 9 episodes at the most. And yeah, I enjoyed both. I haven't tried to check out anything else that's on Quibi, but those two I liked, and I would recommend if you already have Quibi. And I don't know if you can still sign up for the 90 days. I think maybe, but those would be
I
the
would
two
think
that I'd
so.
recommend.
I mean, I don't know that for sure, but I would think you'd still be able to. Maybe I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, I thought maybe it was being offered through the end of this month for the
Okay.
90 days, but I can't remember for sure. Let's see, what else did I watch? I saw Superman Red Sun. I had been wanting to see that, and it's a story that's from the comics, and I had never read the comics, so I was kind of curious to see what the how it plays out. But the basic premise is that what if Clark Kent, his or Clark Kent, what if Kal El's ship landed in Russia instead of Kansas? And it kind of asks the question, would Superman still be who he is and who he's known for to be if he landed in a country that is to America at that time something that was a superpower that was our kind of Cold War enemy. So it's interesting because certain things play out in a way that I didn't expect at all, and you have some of the same sort of cast of characters that are typically around Superman. Like you got your double L's like the Lana Lang and the Lois Lanes, and you got your Lex Luthors, and there's other characters that make an appearance too that I wasn't expecting. I thought maybe this was going to be strictly a Superman story, but there are other DC characters that make an appearance, and I liked it. I was not I was surprised in some ways, and then some other ways I was kind of a little kind of predictable in a way that was annoying for me, but for the most part, I thought it was pretty good. And that is available. Well, I got it. It's on video on demand. That's how I got it. But I think it might be available if you have the DC Universe app. I think I know, excuse me, I know that they were doing a thing where if you have that app, that they usually offer those DC Universe animated movies, if not right away, then like a couple weeks or so after they've made a video on demand appearance. So it might be there if you already have that app to check it out. But I enjoyed it. And what else did I see? Um, there's a show on Netflix that I watched that I've been hearing a little bit about recently. And I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it's called I Am Not Okay with This.
Yeah,
Have you
I've heard of
guys,
that.
either of you heard of it? You
Yeah,
have?
I've heard of it. I haven't watched it, but I know of it.
Okay, so it stars the girl from It that
Yeah.
played Beverly.
Hmm.
And the basic premise is that she's kind of this high school misfit that doesn't quite fit in with the rest of everyone, but she has this best friend that is kind of her whole life in a way. And one day she discovers she has powers, and it's kind of asking the question to her, does this make her more of a misfit, or is this a way to kind of, I guess, become something more than what she already is? And there's the element in there that is mysterious because you don't know specifically how she got her powers, and that plays out throughout the episodes. For the most part, I think when I was watching it, it's not that I didn't like it. It's just that it didn't do anything for me for quite a while until I guess maybe the mythology of it kind of kicked in, and that had me curious. And I was curious enough about it to where I felt like after I watched the whole thing, once the second season drops, I would watch it because of that aspect of it. The teen angsty aspect of it was kind of, I could take it or leave it, but the other aspect I really enjoyed. And it's pretty easy to binge because it's 7 episodes and they're like half an hour each. So it's a really quick binge. So that was helpful in terms of continuing on with it because I wasn't for sure at first. When I first watched the first couple of episodes, I wasn't quite sure I would get into it. But overall, I think it's okay. And it's got a way that it sets up the second season that made me quite interested. So I'm definitely going to check out that second season whenever it comes available. And what was something else? Oh, so there's a new show on Netflix. Gosh, Netflix gets it seems to be coming up
All the
during
attention.
this. Yeah, during this time. There and it's called. I don't know if it's called hashtag, but there's a hashtag in front of the title. Black AF, and it's by Kenya Barris, who created Blackish. And the show's premise, if you were to kind of take Modern Family and combine it with Curb Your Enthusiasm, that's kind of the conceit of the show because Kenya Barris is playing a heightened version of himself, but he's married to Rashida Jones, which, by the way, is a whole other thing because Rashida Jones was trending. I think it was on Friday because apparently a lot of America or whoever in the world didn't know that she's African American. I guess they, I guess they didn't know who her
Oh
dad was.
wow.
Which, if you don't know, her dad is Quincy Jones,
Right.
and
Yeah.
people didn't know that, so they thought she was probably something else, but black. But yes, she's black. So they were talking about that on the Twitter. Um, and the show I watched. Let's see. I think I've watched an episode and a half so far, and it's interesting because I see what they're going for, but I don't know if they've quite nailed it. And some of the aspect of it is kind of what it's like for Kenya being a successful black man navigating Hollywood, essentially. And since he's playing himself, I wouldn't say he does a bad job acting, but I feel like maybe it's not as clever as something as Curb Your Enthusiasm is, and not quite as funny as maybe Modern Family is. So it's I don't know if it's still maybe trying to find its footing or not, but it's not quite there. And at least within the episode and a half that I watched. So I'm gonna probably try and continue watching more of it to see if it finds its footing or if it kind of continues on that same path, which would determine whether or not I would watch another season of it. But I am gonna try and at least finish this first season.
Yeah, I watched the trailer for that this past weekend. I think I just came across it scrolling through Netflix, and it piqued my interest. I'd like to watch it, but
I'd be curious, especially what you would think and what Yasha would think too. I don't know if you had a chance to see it, Yasha, or if you even knew about the show, but I'd be curious to hear what your thoughts are too.
Oh yeah. I'm about
Uh,
6 or 7 episodes in.
oh, nice.
oh,
What do you think?
well,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah.
The floor is yours.
um, you know what? I actually will agree with you a little bit. I think it's reaching for something that hasn't quite hit the mark just yet. But I did find a lot of it very, very funny. Like I did really laugh at a lot of it. I wouldn't even bring into the aspect of Modern Family. My take and my description for it when I've talked to some of my friends, I was like, think of the show Blackish, but rated R, because
Mm,
that's what I get from it. is just more of a grown version of, and a little bit more in your face version of what Blackish is. Because I think Blackish, I've kind of stopped watching Blackish. I used to really enjoy that show. And for whatever reason, I felt that it's gotten to be a little bit over the top, and I've just kind of
Mm.
lost interest in following the characters. With pardon me, with these characters, I'm really interested. I want to see kind of how they develop and where they go. I think Kenya Barris really hits the mark a lot of times when it comes to his character. I really enjoy the dynamic of his daughter, who's shooting this kind of like biography on her family, which is how the show kind of starts. No spoiler warning needed for that. It's kind of in the trailer as well. But learning about his kids and his wife, and how they interact with each other and the developing characters around it, I think are really, really kind of funny. I do think it's a little bit more in your face if you're not really into the idea of some really hard hitting realism when it comes to America and you know racism and whatnot. You might not enjoy it, but I think he does a pretty good job of balancing that out. But to echo what Bobby just said, and I will stand by that, is like I think there is a mark that he's trying to reach, and he just quite hasn't gotten there yet. It's very close, and it's very interesting, and it's fun, and it's gotten me to the point where I'll finish this season, and barring some crazy miracle, I won't watch the second season if it gets picked up. But it's good. I enjoy it.
Cool.
Cool.
You anything else, Bobby? You saw?
One last thing that I'll mention that
Yeah.
I saw. There's this series on Shudder called Cursed Films, and the idea behind it is that each episode is a standalone episode, and they take a movie a pretty popular movie that you've heard of, that something happened on the set of the film or something seems to be around it that makes it seem like bad things have happened to the people who've been involved in the project. Some of the episodes, I think it's 7 episodes for this first season, and some of the movies that they covered are The Exorcist, Poltergeist, Twilight Zone the movie, um, The Omen, and I can't remember the other ones, but the I've watched pretty much all of them, and the one that The Crow is another one, and then there was one other one. But the episode that stood out to me the most was the Twilight Zone one, because I had forgotten that there was something that happened on that set that at the time was a big deal, and when I was watching the episode, I couldn't remember it until they started going into the aspects of it. And what happened was the main actor on the movie, well, in one part of it, because if you remember the Twilight Zone movie, it was took different episodes and broke them into pieces to make a full movie. But in this particular one, there's an actor named Vic Morrow, and he was shooting a scene that was set in Vietnam, per se, quote unquote Vietnam. It was on a studio set, but that they built out in a different area. And there was an accident that involved a helicopter. And I'm watching it, and I think of all the episodes, everything that's happened is stuff that's happened offset. And so there wasn't anything really to show. But this one happened during filming, and in the episode they actually show the death scene essentially of the what happened to this actor, and it was it caught me off guard. I was not prepared for that, and I was like, "Whoa!" They just showed that, and it was crazy what happened. And yeah, it's a pretty interesting series. Some of the stuff that you kind of know, like with the poltergeist and how a couple of the people from that had died in real life, and it was a good series so far. And I would suggest it if you have Shutter. I'm into it.
What was the name of the series again on Shutter?
Cursed Films.
Cursed Films. Yeah, I remember that event with Twilight Zone because I remember watching that movie when I was pretty young, and
Yeah,
and remembering the news about what happened there. It was kind of crazy.
yeah.
Yasha, you watch anything this week?
Still trying to power through Jack Ryan and split the difference with watching Black as AF. So that's pretty much the only new stuff that I've watched. I haven't watched really anything. I fought from renting or buying something online to basically finish what I have started already before I bring in something else into my world of watching it. But I'm getting close to finishing Jack Ryan, which I'm really enjoying, and close to finishing AF as well. So those are really the only things that I've been watching. A lot of that. That's about it. Yeah. Sorry, it's
Yeah.
not very exciting
No,
this week.
I didn't watch much new. I saw one film this week that I'd seen before. Actually, Michelle saw it for the first time, but she's not here to talk about it. Watch The Purge, um,
Mm.
The
which
Watch the
original?
original.
yeah, the first Purge. I've only seen I had seen it before, but she hadn't. And I saw the first two movies. I never saw past that.
Hmm.
After the second one, I'm
Oh,
like,
you're not
oh,
missing
good.
much.
Nah, I didn't think so. I liked the first movie for what it is. I mean, it's not a great movie, but I like how isolated it is in that, in one location the whole time. And I like the idea that the second film kind of ventured off to another part of town or another part of the country and did something different. But yeah, once I saw where they were going past that, I didn't have any interest for it. But yeah, other than that, I mean, yeah, I haven't watched really anything new yet this week either. So don't apologize for not watching much. Um,
I
I was
still want to revisit Bloodshot, but Bobby's review of that has really detoured me from doing that because our alignment for film and enjoying things are so almost in sync every single time.
mhm.
To hear him say that it just wasn't good, like when I feel sometimes more of an optimist than I am when it comes to some of these things. It's like, I went in trying to see the good in it, and I know that he did, and I know he was trying, but for his review just to be as scathing as it was, I'm having a hard time bringing myself to spend the 2 hours to watch it.
Yeah, two
And I'm
hours and
super
how much you'll
interested.
have to spend to watch it if you what
Yeah,
is
and I'm super
yeah,
interested. I'm super interested, but I just can't bring myself to do it just yet. I will
yeah.
sooner or later, but
We were talking about Dragon Con, talking about Georgia earlier. I don't know if you guys saw. I just saw via Deadline like 4 hours ago. They posted. I guess Governor Brian Kemp in the state of Georgia announced that movie theaters should be reopening on April 27th in Georgia.
Yeah, I saw that.
I hadn't seen that. I just saw this now. That's kind of crazy. I mean, he's saying, of course, it'll be done with certain, stipulations in place. Probably a lot less people allowed in each movie theater, but that seems a bit soon. But what am I to say? I don't know.
yeah. I listened to a report today talking about AMC, and AMC is slated and can be closed until Thanksgiving if need be.
Yeah. Wow.
So I'm curious just because I don't know if you guys had heard, what was it, Thursday, that uh, President had mentioned that there were some guidelines that he was setting forth to where what would qualify things getting back to normal.
Right.
And it was like, okay, first you have to have a couple weeks of these different criteria that have to happen. And then once those have happened, you can go to step one or phase one or whatever it's called. And that would include movie theaters opening.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like they're federal rules that are enforced. It's just sort of like, hey, this is what we think would work, and you can adopt it or not. And I would say that based on what Atlanta's trying to do, I can't imagine that they're at a level to where they could be into that first phase where they'd be
I
able
wouldn't
to
think
open
so.
movie theaters. So I don't know that that's going to happen at all.
Nah. But
That's jumping the gun.
like
Yeah.
you said, I mean, it sounds like the governors can in reality still do what they want.
Yeah.
I guess if Governor Kemp decides to open
Florida
them, they can
sure
open
is.
them. Well, hey, we don't have movie theaters open yet. Give us that, at least. And when they reopen, if they reopen that soon, I will not be going. Don't you worry. Yeah,
But see, that's what makes me curious in a way. It's sort of like what I was saying about the whole Dragon Con and MegaCon thing is that if they did open it that soon, I got to figure 50% of the people are like, nope, I'm not going. You're one of those people, or David, you're saying you're not going to go. So, of that 50% that's not going, that leaves another 50% that would go.
Hmm.
So, wouldn't that by nature make it almost to where it's okay to go because there'd be enough spacing for the 50% that decides to go that you'd be okay as opposed to, everyone just saying not going because you're gonna figure, and I'm just being generous, who knows, maybe 70% of the people will say I'm not going, so then that leaves 30% that said, yeah, I'll risk it. And so then it's like, they're gonna go out and do things. But the only problem I see with it really is that even if you did go, there's nothing to see. They're only going to show, what I've
Right.
heard is that they'll show older movies that you've seen already. They're just going to re-show them in theaters. So
Yeah, because
I don't know that going for that.
studios aren't gonna open any of these major films that they're hoping to,
No,
have huge weekends during a time where
no,
50% or less of the audience is attending movies.
yeah,
Forget it.
Right.
Even though movie
no
theaters are
chance.
open, they'll
No.
continue. They'll delay movies like Black Widow
Oh
and
yeah,
big tentpole
you won't
films.
see a Marvel movie until you won't see a Marvel movie back in the theater until they give the all clear, and
Right.
it's they can actually have a full packed theater for the whole weekend. With the money
Right.
that they put into their productions and making sure those movies look good, there's no way that they would risk it to lose it on something like this.
No. No way.
You know, speaking of movies, there's one movie today that they announced that's getting pushed back. That is, I'm curious. It's the Batman, Matt Reeves, the Batman,
Yep. I saw
getting
that.
moved from June. I think it was June 22nd to October 1st or something like that. So it's moving back a few months,
Hmm.
and I thought it interesting only from the perspective of I can't think of a movie of the nature of something like that that's open in October, where usually you get your horror movies and those kind of one-off type films in October. I don't think I've seen a big blockbuster release in October, and I'm curious as to how well that will do. I know it's going to do well, but I'm like, will it do even better than it would have in June because it's in October where there's usually nothing? And so, will that be the thing where you'll hear October's has its biggest month release for a film in its history? I don't. I'm curious, just because what made them decide on that October date? Because you just usually don't hear of big tentpole movies coming out in October.
Yeah, I just started looking as you were talking about that, and indeed, Joker came out in October. Um, so that had the biggest October release ever. It's what it looks like if I'm seeing the correct information.
It was like 90 something million, right?
Yeah, like 96 or no,
Okay, yeah.
93, 90, yeah, 93, 94, depending on how you
Do you
round.
think Batman beats that? I would say yes.
I would say yes, unless the trailers just look real terrible or something. But
Hey.
no, I would say it beats that, you know, barring a pandemic.
Yeah, because you got to figure it's not a rated R movie, so
Nah.
that alone should help it.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then it's
true.
Batman,
Good
so of
point.
course.
Right. I would say so. But you're right. I can't think of many other movies that have had big October releases. I think Venom did. Didn't Venom come out in October?
Venom did too. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
So maybe that there is precedent there that made them.
a little bit of President,
That's
not a
still
lot.
supposed to be coming out in October. Now that I think about it,
Oh,
Venom
really?
2 comes out in October. I think. If
I
anyone
haven't heard
has a
any
chance to look
delay
it
for
up,
that yet.
yeah. So
Hmm.
that would be an interesting
I
little.
haven't heard any delays for that just yet.
No, me either. So that would be an interesting little battle, Venom versus Batman, to see which one has the bigger box office for that month.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And it's Venom 2, and it has Carnage. So it's coming off of a successful first movie. So it'll be interesting to see what that second movie does.
But yeah, didn't Warner Brothers announce a few movies that pushed back
Successful
all of them
first
about
movie.
like six
October
months or
2nd.
so?
What was that,
Wait, what was
Jascha?
that, Yasha?
Sorry.
Oh no, I mean it still says here that it's supposed to be released October 2nd. So we're still on track with that. So I'm interested to see how they like if they keep
And
it
what's
going.
the
So Hopefully
What's
they
the
do.
date
And
for the Batman?
yeah, I mean what's that?
And you said Venom's October 2nd,
The
so I was
Batman.
asking if anyone knows what the Batman release date
Yeah,
is.
I thought that was next
Because
summer.
it moved
It
to
was. It
October,
moved to the fall. I was trying to look
I'm
it up
kind
as
of
well.
curious.
October 1st.
See? Okay, I was right. So somebody's moving. I can't imagine both those movies are going to open on
Yeah.
the same weekend.
Oh yeah. Huh. But yeah, they moved Shazam 2. What else did they moved the Flash.
Hmm. Flash moved up, which is
Oh,
interesting.
I didn't even
It
notice
took
that. That's
Batman's
funny.
spot.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Moving up 1 month from it was on July 1st and now it's June 3rd of 2022.
Yeah.
Well, so yeah, it's not really Batman's spot because that's a year later.
22. Yeah.
And then yeah, Shazam moved from April 1st, 2022 to November 4th, 2022. Anyway, anything else, guys, before we wrap things up? Anything else I missed? I forgot.
I can't think.
Stay healthy, guys.
I will continue to stay healthy. I'll try. Yeah, you guys do the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
Be back next week. Obviously, we won't be making it to a movie theater, but watching what we can online, at home, streaming, and we'll see what news comes our way this week. With that, yeah, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. As always, we'd love to hear back from everyone listening and watching. You can email us at feedback@flickereffect.com. We are also on Instagram and Twitter at flicker_effect and on YouTube at youtube.com/flickereffect. I'm David Lott.
Bobby Jackson.
And I'm Jascha Wilson.
Thanks for watching.